Welcome, and thanks for joining us for this deep dive, which we put together just for you.
Hey there.
Today, we're delving into something pretty heavy. It's about the tragic events at the University of Warsaw, and we're looking at it through the lens of a specific YouTube video.
Right, it's from Krzysztof Jackowski's official channel. It was actually a live stream he did.
Yeah, a live stream, so you get that kind of immediate reaction, him thinking out loud, answering comments. It's quite raw.
It really is. And, our goal here today isn't to say whether who's right or wrong, obviously.
No, definitely not. The point is to understand the perspective he's offering, especially this uh, quite unusual idea about demonic influence being involved somehow, just to get inside the ideas presented.
Exactly. So where does he start?
Well, he starts where I think a lot of people started, just total shock, finding it hard to grasp, no real logic to it.
That makes sense. That feeling of, how could this even happen? He taps right into that initial gut reaction.
Yeah. And it's from that place, that lack of a rational explanation, that he introduces this other idea, the potential role of demons or demonism.
And he's careful to say it's his personal thought, right? Not like a diagnosis or anything official.
Absolutely. He makes that clear. But then he gets into this really interesting distinction he draws. It's between negative energy or maybe curses and what he calls demons.
Ah, okay. That's a key point for understanding his argument, isn't it? How does he separate those?
Well, he says negative energy, think envy, jealousy, that kind of thing comes from living people, from
Okay.
us.
Okay.
And he thinks these feelings create strong thought vibrations.
Yeah.
And eventually this energy finds its way back to whoever sent it out.
Right, a sort of boomerang effect. And demons are different, how?
His definition is pretty specific. He calls them fallen souls, addicted to causing harm, to evil, to tragedy. Souls that are kind of stuck, haven't moved on.
So not just general negativity, but actual entities driven by malice, according to him.
Exactly. And he talks about their power compared to, say, regular earthbound souls, like ghosts.
Oh, interesting. What's the difference there, in his view?
He suggests that, typical ghosts might haunt a place, make noises, that sort of thing, but they're generally not powerful enough to cause real physical harm.
Okay. Limited.
But demons, he says, actively want to get inside a living person,
Just,
experience evil through them, to fulfill their own craving for it.
wow, okay. That's a pretty intense idea. So how does he think they actually get in?
He mentions maybe during sleep or other times when someone's vulnerable.
Yeah.
And he describes two main ways they might influence someone, which I thought was quite something.
Two different kinds of influence, like what?
Yeah. The first is what he calls aggressive demons. These ones apparently clash directly with a person's own thoughts, their logic.
So like hearing voices telling you contradictory things.
Exactly. He even says it can look a lot like schizophrenia and acknowledges that psychiatry would see it as a mental disorder.
Okay, so he notes the standard explanation too. What's the second type?
The second type is much more subtle. These demons don't fight your logic head on. Instead, they slowly kind of nudge your desires
Nudge them how?
towards things you'd normally find repulsive or just wouldn't want. Meaning cravings, urges that feel alien but get stronger over time, working by insinuation rather than command.
Huh. That sounds almost creepier in a way, less obvious.
Yeah, definitely more insidious. And he uses this whole framework, these ideas, to try and make sense of the Warsaw University attack.
So how does he connect it? What specific things does he point to?
Well, the sheer brutality, first off. The fact that it seems so, I guess, senseless. And like we mentioned, the perpetrator bringing multiple weapons, the axe, knives, maybe even a bayonet, he said.
Right, the premeditation, planning to inflict maximum harm.
Exactly. And he also focuses on that statement the perpetrator apparently made about people being either predators or victims and, his desire to be the predator. Yeah. And the speaker, Jackowski, he reflects on this feeling that the attacker fulfilled some kind of deep longing. But he questions, was it his longing or was it the demon's longing acting through him?
So using the perpetrator's own words and actions as potential evidence for this external demonic influence.
Right. He even brings up other cases, talks about people who've done terrible things and claimed voices told them to do it. Yeah. He mentions a specific case, I think in Warsaw, a young guy who killed and dismembered someone, claimed a voice commanded him.
And what happened in that case? Legally?
He was convicted. The speaker points out that even with those claims, the legal system generally holds the person responsible. which is an important point to make.
Absolutely. So he's not saying it's an excuse, legally speaking, but offering this other layer of, well, potential explanation for the motive, maybe.
Exactly. It's complex, but he doesn't just leave it at, demons exist, watch out. He also talks about how people can protect themselves.
Ah, okay. So there's a defensive aspect to his theory, too. What does he suggest?
Inner strength, basically. And faith. He really emphasizes having a strong, solid personality. Strong beliefs, strong faith. That's your shield, essentially.
Especially during sleep, maybe, when he said people are more vulnerable?
Yeah, he mentioned that sleep is a vulnerable time. And he suggests that demons are drawn to people who are, in his words, scarred, or maybe don't have faith, or are too focused on material things.
He called them flat personalities, I think you said, like easier to influence.
Yeah, flat and defenseless was the idea. And the payoff for the demon, according to him, is experiencing this kind of vicarious thrill from the evil the host carries out.
It's a very stark view of good versus evil. Evil getting excitement from badness, good finding strength in goodness.
Pretty much. He says evil can't ultimately win, but it can definitely worm its way in and destroy the good inside a person.
And since it was a live stream, people were asking questions, right? Did he address any interesting ones?
Yeah, a couple. Someone asked about that idea of bad energy returning to sender. Like, if that's true, why do some bad people seem to keep getting away with doing harm?
Good question. What was his answer?
He kind of zoomed out, took a longer view, said evil is temporary, but the damage it does, the wounds to the soul, they can last maybe even across lifetimes.
A more metaphysical perspective on consequences. Any other questions?
Well, one person just commented they'd been waiting for him to talk about this kind of thing, which shows, his audience is interested in these themes.
Right. There's an appetite for these kinds of explanations, maybe.
And someone flat out asked him if he'd ever actually seen a demon.
Oh, wow. Did he say yes?
Not exactly seen one visually, no.
Huh.
But he shared this really vivid personal story, a dream he had years ago.
A dream. Tell us about it.
Okay, so this was years back. He was doing some home renovations and had terrible sciatic nerve pain, like really bad.
Okay. Setting the scene. Painful time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has this dream. He sees this black sack moving.
Yeah.
And he feels like it's full of, like, bones rattling around.
Yeah. Yikes. Okay.
In the dream, he manages to catch this sack. And the moment he catches it, poof, his sciatic pain completely disappears. Just gone.
In the dream.
In the dream, yeah. So then, still dreaming, he takes the sack and shows it to his son, who was asleep in his room in the dream.
And what does the dream son do?
Reacts immediately. Total fear. Shouts, "Don't open that sack, it's a demon. Get rid of it."
Whoa. Intense dream warning.
Totally. So in the dream, he takes the sack and throws it out. End of that part of the dream.
And then he woke up.
Woke up a bit later, yeah. Realized the lights were off. Maybe more time had passed than he thought. And the first thing he noticed, the sciatic pain was back, full force.
Oh, man. So the dream relief didn't last.
No. But here's a really unsettling part. He looks into his son's room,
Yeah.
and his son is fast asleep in the exact same physical position he was in during the dream when he shouted the warning.
Okay, that is eerie. You can see why that experience would stick with him and maybe inform his views on this stuff.
Absolutely. Clearly made a huge impression on him.
So quite a journey through his perspective there.
It really is. And just to circle back as we wrap up this deep dive, what we've done here is unpack the ideas presented in that specific video, exploring this concept of demonic influence as one person's attempt to understand a horrific event.
Yeah, the key thing is understanding the perspective offered in the source material. We're laying out the ideas for you, not stamping them with approval or dismissal, just presenting them as they were shared.
Exactly. It's about insight into that viewpoint.
So maybe final thought for you listening to kind of chew on.
Yeah?
Just consider the power our own beliefs can have. Think about inner resilience, what makes someone strong inside, and maybe reflect on all the different ways people try to make sense of things that on the surface just seem utterly inexplicable.
Right. There are always so many layers, aren't there? When you try to understand why terrible things happen, lots to think about.